Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is. I'm glad you are stepping into a mode of aligning your mind with the truth of God, because that is what this Morning Mindset broadcast is all about. I am convinced we all need a mindset reset every day of our lives, and sometimes multiple times throughout the day, because we start to lose focus. We start to lose our intention that we often start the day with to live in light of God's truth. And we need to be drawn back to it. If you notice in the book of 1 Peter, he often says, I write things to you as a reminder. That's what the morning mindset is. It's just a reminder of who you are and of who your God is and what he wants to do in your life for this day. We've been looking at the book of Ephesians, chapter 3, as we look toward 2020. And many of us set goals as we look toward a new year, and that's all wonderful. But I'm going a little bit deeper than just some surface goals or tangible goals in the real world that we're living in, this physical world that we live in. And I want to go to the reality of the spiritual depths of what's happening behind the scenes in our lives as believers in Jesus Christ. In Ephesians chapter 3, verse number 17, Paul is praying a prayer for a number of people who are reading this letter, and we are among those now. And he's praying that Christ may dwell in their hearts through faith so that they will be rooted and grounded in his love. And we talked about that some yesterday. And then he goes on, and here's where I want to focus today. He says that you may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge. Now just stop for a moment and think about what Paul's praying here. He's praying in essentially, I want you to be able to understand something that's not understandable. That's what he says. Let me read it again. He says, I want you to have strength to comprehend, so that's understanding, with all the saints. So he wants this for the entire church. What is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge. You see, Paul was one to pray for the miraculous, to believe God for the impossible, because he is the God of the impossible, right? He's the God who can do anything that he desires to do. And Paul was going to war on behalf of the believers in Christ he was writing to. He was warring for them in prayer. And he was asking God to come to their aid, to give them the comprehension, the strength that they need to comprehend the breadth and length and height and depth of God's love for them, and to know that love in an experiential kind of a way that surpasses knowledge. Now, I think we all know that experience. There's things you know, but you don't exactly know how to describe them or how to articulate it to someone. And then you have an experience of that thing that takes you more deeply into it and gives you a deeper knowledge, a knowledge that comes to you by experience, and it goes deeper and it's more intimate. That's what Paul's praying for. He wants all believers everywhere to know God's love on this level. And my friends, as we look toward 2020, I want you to stretch your mind for a moment, and I want you to stretch your faith for a moment. And think with me for a moment that 2020 could be the year that you come to know God's love for you in miraculously magnificent ways. That you would know the height and the breadth and the length and the depth of God's love. And as Paul says, to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge. My friends, that's what I'm praying for you this year. And I believe in 2020 that is entirely possible, because we have a God who does these kinds of things in the lives of his people. So I give you that as a goal, perhaps, for 2020, that you be praying toward that. You be asking God for that. Because, friends, what matters more in 2020? Big bank accounts and business success? No. Knowing the love of God on that deep level and becoming convinced of it in a way that affects the way you live. That matters so much more. That is true riches as you move into a new decade. And moving into the new decade, I ask you to consider how you can share the morning mindset with others